would definitely say the college experience. I tell a lot of people like I left college, but I feel like I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't from the experiences that I got from college. Making those mistakes, and that was really my first time being by myself and you know, in my own environment.
So is my stomach still good? Okay. Okay, yeah. Okay, sorry. No, but I had to make sure because I want to look at this later on and be like, girl, your stomach. Okay. What's up, y'all? It's your girl Nia Olivia, and I just want to say thank you so much for tuning into this video. I got my nephew with me, De'Adonai. Here he's actually visiting from St. Louis, which is where we're from. So this video is all about what would I tell my 20-year-old self. And since I'm actually, you know, in my 30s a little bit, and my nephew is 22. I figured this would be like the perfect video for us to do together. So I have some questions. I got my phone with me. Let's get into it. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
During the time when you're in your 20s, you obviously are like learning a lot, right?
Yeah, I'm learning so much.
Right. So you're having all these different experiences and everything. Something that I've always really liked is being able to like talk to older people like your mom, you know, like other people in our family, just to kind of like get that advice from them. Do you think it's good when people are talking to you and telling you things? Are you hearing us when we're saying stuff?
Yeah, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. For the most part, I try to like think about it in my own terms and everything like that when you guys give it to me. And sometimes, you know, it's right. Sometimes I feel like it's wrong, but sometimes it do be right.
And you know what? I like that because it's like you do have to have experiences for yourself and not necessarily base everything on other people. If you base stuff on other people, sometimes you might be moving in fear all the time, and then you won't even have like good experiences.
You won't have your own like, you know, frame of reference.
Yeah. As we get into kind of like the advice and just things about being in your 20s, I first just wanted to ask you some questions. I think it's important to ask where people are coming from. So my questions to you are, what are some of your fears like at this point in time in your life? Like, what are your worries at this age?
My worries. That's kind of a hard question because it's like when I'm young, so you don't really. It's not that you don't fear too many things, but it's like you're not really looking at, you know, like okay, like if I'm scared, it's just more so like either you're gonna do it or you're not.
Okay.
So I would probably say just right now the most scary thing would just probably be just failing. So just or not taking a chance. So that would probably be the
biggest.
Yeah.
Okay. What is it like growing up as a black man in America?
That's another, you know, complicated question because not too many people really understand that, and it's all just based on your environment and things like that. So I would definitely say it's like it has its problems, you know, with the police and, you know, each other and other people as well. Just you know, not really giving us the credit that we deserve. So
yes. I 100% agree with that. Black men definitely deserve a lot more credit than they get. And when you bring up the police thing, one of the things I know that has scared me is like, not to say I'm always worried, but I think parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, they worry about you all when you're out and about because you never know how the police are gonna perceive you.
Exactly.
Or, you know, something that could be like a routine traffic stop could just turn into something else. So that definitely is scary.
I appreciate y'all watching the video with me and my auntie. Y'all can like and subscribe to the video at Nia Olivia now. That'd be great. Thank you.
So my other question to you is, how do you feel about social media and how it kind of like impacts relationship building? And when I say relationships, I mean like relationships with like your family members, relationships with your friends. Like, what role does social media play in that?
It's a huge role, especially in this, you know, this life. Social media is everything. It's pretty much, you know, your friends. Some people I personally get my news as well from social media. Connections with other people, and you can connect with different and new people from all over. So I mean, it definitely has its good and its bad. I definitely say with connecting with people is a great thing, but you know, it sometimes holds people to a different standard in which they, you know, some people can't live up to.
Yeah. Do you think that it ever impacts like the things that people do as families, like, you know, not necessarily spending as much time with your family because you're more engaged with social media? Do you think that affects you or anybody that you know?
it all depends on how you use social media. I use it like to learn more. So it could also help you, strengthen your connection with your family, giving you new ideas and new things to do together. So, but it also could, you could be, some people are addicted to that. So it's kind of hard to,
disengaged from stuff that's going on. Okay. All right. I like that. In this video, I did want to give some advice just from my perspective on things that I would have done just a little bit differently in my 20s, or things that I would have thought about more in my 20s. The first thing I was saying was God, or being spiritual. Not necessarily you gotta go to church all the time. It's important to have that kind of foundation with God,
Of course.
So when you are going through tough times, tough situations, you can definitely rely on God. I think that maybe when I was in my 20s, I don't want to say I moved away, because I always had a relationship with God, but I just didn't really talk to God about the things that I was going through. So if I was doing it over again, I probably would have talked to God more about, do you think you have, do you think you try to bring God into the things that you're doing in your life?
All the time. Even when I'm eating or right before I eat, try to give him a good prayer of, just help guide me from not only myself, but my family as well. So I definitely think, my God or God, or people's God in general is definitely watching over me and guiding me.
Yes. The next tip that I would give someone for when they're in their 20s is to focus on your finances, right? It's super important to be able to save money. And even though you may not be able to save a whole bunch of money, you still want to try to have a savings. The other thing is credit. You got to be conscious of your credit. I remember my mom was always telling me pay attention to your credit. And I heard her, but I still would, I still would be spending more money and stuff, ordering out food all the time. Y'all, when I tell you, okay, him and DoorDash, they best friends, okay? They got a straight a relationship, okay? First name basis over there at DoorDash.
I like to eat.
Yes, he does like to eat, but you don't cook.
That is correct. I don't know how to cook either.
Yes, you don't know how to cook. So that's one thing too. It's a good idea to kind of learn how to make some staples, some special little meals, so that you don't have to spend as much money, because even though y'all might really enjoy eating out and the food might taste really, really good, if you think about how much money you could be putting away, or you could be spending on something else like an activity or travel or something else, that's when you get more conscious about it. The other tip I would give is, if you do get behind on your bills, y'all, don't dodge the credit people. There are ways that you can set up payment plans with people, and so instead of dodging them and then having to pay even more money, it's figure out a way that you could set up some type of plan with them if possible, just so that it doesn't ding your credit.
Do you have any examples of some ways that they can help build their credit or help them with their credit?
I do. So when I was in my 20s, one of the things that I did was, my mother put me on one of her cards as an authorized user. So I think it was, I don't know if it was American Express or who it was, but I was an authorized user. So when someone who has credit puts you on as an authorized user, that's going to help to show that you're, is it the debt to income ratio? It just shows that you have more spending power. So once you're able to show that you have more spending power, then you can go and actually get a card that's in your name, because they see that you have something that's already established, that you've been paying it on time. So I would say, get an authorized card through someone if possible. If you don't have family that you can do the authorized card for, do a secure credit card first. Navy Federal, I remember I did a secure credit card. I think it was $250 at first. But within the first either year or 6 months, they turned it into just a regular credit card, an unsecured card. So then they gave me a credit limit. Those are some of the tips that I would say in terms of building up your credit. Also, student loans, which can be hard. I know we're all dealing with a lot of stuff with student loans, but I would say really call and make a payment plan with them, or even if you had to put something in forbearance, because I had my taxes garnished before. I don't want that to happen to you. I wasn't communicating with them. So, and if I had just had those conversations and phone calls with them, that's money that I would have had. So again, I think it kind of goes back into not wanting to, just dodge those people. Another thing I would say is, don't make purchases if it's a high interest rate. Because ultimately those high interest rates are just gonna hurt you guys. Sometimes we wanna get a certain car and our credit isn't great and we go ahead and get it and the interest rate is just ridiculous, you know? Like that's a bad investment. Get something that's smaller. You don't have to have the nicest car at that age. Like get something that's practical so you're going to be able to get some more money. So I think it's also kind of like, advice I would have told myself is like, don't focus on other people. You don't have to have a Mercedes or a BMW, you know, to be living good. Like just get things that are going to help you build wealth for the future.
Oh, some great.
My next tip is that I know a lot of people tell you to go to college when you're in your 20s and stuff, that it's important for you to go to college. But honestly, college isn't necessarily for everybody, you know? I think that it is imperative that you get some type of education, right? Which means you are learning a trade. You are going through some type of program that is preparing you for an industry. People do it in terms of like being firefighters. My nephew is a home inspector. There are other ways for you to be successful without necessarily going to college. So De'Anne, I wanted you to just kind of talk on your experience because you've had both. You've been in college and then you've also done something else. So talk to us about that a little bit.
I would definitely say the college experience. I tell a lot of people like I left college, but I feel like I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't from the experiences that I got from college, making those mistakes. And that was really my first time being by myself in, you know, in my own environment, being far away from home in a different city.
Yeah.
So it's like you build yourself up from those. And I mean, yeah, you make a lot of mistakes, but the mistakes are necessary to kind of get where you want to get to, and that way you can also learn from them. But I would say after that, once I found out it wasn't for me and it's not something I wanted to do, it's all about taking that next step into where you want to go.
Key, what he just said, it's about taking the next step, because it's like sometimes something may not work out the way you think it's gonna work out, but that doesn't mean that it can't still benefit you in the long run. And so you took a situation where, okay, you had your college experience, but then you were able to go on, and I mean, you handling it right now. Like he really is. I'm so proud of him. So, and something you just touched on, my next tip was about mistakes, right? I think that sometimes, especially because we're dealing with all this mental health, right? People get depressed. People feel down about situations that they've made. So my next tip is not being so hard on yourself in your 20s. Like you literally are going to make a lot of mistakes. Some people less than others. I made 1,000 of them, okay? I always had to almost learn the hard way, you know, like aside from going right to college and graduating, it was like after that, just a lot happened. So I think that there were times when I really blamed myself for the mistakes that I made, and it was like stifling, you know, like you were saying, like I couldn't even move forward or try to figure out what my next move was because I was just thinking about everything from the past. So it's definitely important to let stuff go and just keep it moving, y'all. Like keep it moving. So my next tip is to enjoy being single. Everyone may not be able to relate to this, but I say this especially as someone who had a long-term relationship in my 20s and lived with someone, and it didn't go into marriage. I just lived with someone. So my advice for people in their 20s, and also like I have a lot of friends who are divorced now, people who got married when we were really young and now they're divorced. When you're in your 20s, you change so much. So 20-year-old De'Anne or 22-year-old De'Anne is not gonna be 32-year-old De'Anne, you know? Yeah, exactly. And you may want different things than what you wanted at that time. Like, for instance, in my 20s, I was more focused on dating somebody that I was attracted to. Like, and of course you always want to be attracted to someone, but when I say attracted, like we didn't talk about our life goals. We didn't talk about our morals or how we would really raise kids and stuff. It was kind of like, okay, we got that energy, we got that vibe, like let's go, you know? But we didn't have any type of foundation. Would you live with someone, do you think?
I don't mind it. It's just I'm a personal space type of person, so I kind of like my space here and there. But I wouldn't mind, you know, staying with a woman or anything like that.
Okay. So would you think? Do you want to be married?
Yes.
Okay. So before you would move in with someone, if you were to move in with that person, would that be someone that you would potentially see yourself marrying? Or would it be because, okay, that's your girlfriend and that's just the next step that you guys are taking?
I would look at it like it's a next step to trying to, you know, build to that marriage thing. I'm not getting with somebody just to be in that moment of, oh, I like you, or like, you know, I'm trying to build from there. Because that's what I'm trying to do personally, is build. So I need somebody that's gonna build with me and you know, build that empire.
Okay, yes, build these empires. I like that. Oh, another thing that I would say is in terms of the sex thing, y'all. Okay, getting with different people. When you're in your 20s, you feel super free, right? You meet people, you're attracted to them, you meet them out, you know, and boom, next thing you know, you wake up, you're like, oh my God, okay? What I would say though is that even in your 20s, you have to be so careful with people, guys. That means that you really do have to have like tough conversations with people that you may not want to have with them. You want to make sure that whoever you're dating is somebody that is going to the doctor on a regular basis, okay? That they're getting checked out, that you all have had conversations and talked about it, and you put on a condom, guys. You don't want to have a baby with every single person that you interact with. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's okay to wrap up. Like, at the end of the day, when you do meet that person that's going to be your life partner, you'll be able to have those experiences with them where you can just be like super open. But right now, that's not what you all should be about, because there's just so many different things out there, and literally one moment can change your life. I think definitely looking back on my 20s, it's just be careful. Like I would want people to be careful as they're interacting with people.
Definitely not.
The next tip that I would give someone is to travel more, right?
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
To have those experiences. I remember when I was in college and one of my roommates, she did a travel abroad. But I was like afraid almost to travel abroad. And once I left St. Louis and I started having more experiences, my eyes opened up to the world is so much bigger. Like Deanna, you went away to college. You had that experience. You're in St. Louis now, but you get to travel and, you know, do different things. Like, what are some of the other, I guess, travel experiences that like you're looking forward to?
Different environments. I mean, it's the little things like different weather. 'Cause like I said, you know, I'm an inspector, so it's like I'm big on like gotta look at the weather and things like that. And so weather and always different people. You meet different people of different occupations. Everybody does something different of all ages and all ages and races. And for the most part, they all want to see you do good. So it's just.
And you get to learn from those people, right?
You learn, you have conversations, and you helping them at the same time. So all of that just really, you know, is a great experience, and it's something that I always look forward to when I'm traveling and going to different places.
Okay, so if you were going abroad, where would you want to go?
What you mean abroad?
Like overseas.
Brazil.
Okay, so Brazil is in South America. Go further. Further.
Dubai.
Okay, you go. Why do you want to go to Dubai?
It just looks so nice there, and from where they started off at to where they are now, it's just
the progress
beautiful.
of the city. Okay. I like that. I want to experience Dubai at some point too. I want to go back to Africa though. I definitely want to do Africa. I want to go to like Greece, Italy.
Go to Africa.
Yeah, you gotta go to Africa. Africa has so many different places. Like, Africa is huge. I don't even think sometimes that Black Americans realize how much is in Africa. And when you go to Africa, you truly feel differently as a Black person when you come back, because you have a connection to something. Versus when you're just here in the United States, our connection is like
just Americans.
Yeah, you know, to the South. Like, where's your family from? Mississippi? You know, Georgia. Like, you want to have some different experiences and everything. Looking back on my 20s, one thing that I would want to have done a little bit better was being careful about the people I bring into my space. When I was in my 20s, I was really free. So that means like I could be out with my girlfriends, we meet some guys, we end up hanging out with them later on or kicking it with them and stuff. But times have changed so much, right? now you can meet someone, and even for you as a young man, you could meet a woman out, she could rob you. She could be trying to set you up with something, or, you know, trying to hurt you in some type of way. For women, there's still a lot of sex trafficking going on that people aren't necessarily familiar with, or they're kidnapping young women and taking them to different places. And even if it's not like a quote unquote kidnapping, you got to be careful about your energy. Do you have a lot of friends?
I wouldn't say I have a lot of friends. I would say I know a lot of people and I have a lot of associates, but I would just say I really have a small group of friends that I hang with on a regular basis.
Okay. Do you think that you have good discernment? Like where you're able to kind of like feel a person's energy, or you're observing kind of like how people move? Because I know sometimes like I get a feeling about people and it makes me like more cautious of them. Do you ever get those type of feelings?
Yeah, all the time. When I'm talking to people, I'm really listening to what they're saying and you know what they about, so that way I can choose to make a decision based on that. If this person is somebody I want to hang around, if this person I'm supposed to be kind of, you know, stay away from.
Yes.
It's just try to be conscientious when having a conversation with people, just so I'm listening, so I can, you know, be able to use that information and do what I will with.
Okay. I like that. Good. I'm glad. So yes, all of you that are in your 20s, just remember, you know, to always be careful. Like, we want you all to have a really good time, but just make sure that you're being careful. Is there anything else you would ask me from the perspective of like a 30-year-old? I mean, we talk all the time, so it's kind of like we really do talk about life, and I try to like share as many experiences that like I've had, whether they've been good experiences or they've been negative experiences with him, you know, because I want you to essentially learn from my mistakes and everything.
Not really. I mean, like you said, you hit it on the nail. We talk all the time, so it's like anything that you know you have, any information that you have, you try to give it to me, so that way I can, you know, basically learn from your mistakes and go from there. So if I really had any questions, I would be able to ask you, or
yes.
You would just be telling me before I even have to
ask.
So.
I think too, it's important that when you're in your 20s that you do have family members that are older than you, that you can have a relationship with, and that you can be able to talk to them about things that worry you. Sometimes I think that parents, and not just parents, aunts, grandparents, sometimes we come down on our kids because we're worried for them, right? We don't want them to make certain mistakes. But if you're a parent and you're watching this, I think it's super important to build like an open relationship with your child, so that your child knows what is going on with you. You know, your mom knows, like she knows. It's important for you to be able to talk to them and even tell them when you mess up. Like, I remember I totaled my mom's car one time. And I was so like, you know how hard it is to call your parent and tell them that like you totaled their car? But I had to call my mom. Like, I called her, I let her know, like, you know, it felt awful. Well, I called Taki first, which is his mom. I called her first. That was my first call, was to my sister. But the next call was to my mom, and to just, you know, let her know what happened. Like, tell people, don't try to like cover up, you know, the mistakes that you made. Let your parents know, because a lot of times your parents can be able to help you get through something even better. I just think it's good to kind of keep them aware of the movements that you made. And if you're not able to talk to your parents, try to have somebody else that's a little bit older than you that you can confide in, and you can have like those open conversations with.
Make sure y'all hit that subscribe button.
Again, thank you so much for watching. Be blessed.